Welcome back to the Quiet on Set podcast powered by Cineman. I'm Young Graf, and as always, I'm joined by my pink partner, Lachlan Keeley. Lachlan Keeley. I don't know why I called you Keeley. I've never called you Keeley, but you're Keeley now.
And I'm wearing green, but that's okay. This week on the podcast, we have some movie delays and we have a discussion time about Mattel's future plans for movies based on their IP after the successful opening of Barbie.
Then I got some thoughts on Good Omens Season 2. I watched Heat and Ryan Gosling's abs in Crazy Stupid Love. That's what I've been watching.
And this week it's Barbenheimer. It's a big old week of movies. We're doing a double feature on the main topic of conversation.
So let's get into it. Let's cue up that intro and waste no more time. Get into the show. We are professionals.
This is a professional podcast.
Yes. Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul.
Hello there.
Which actually,
did you
this
get
is
me a hat as well?
Yes.
So I've got Dooncam. It's just a camera with my Dune steelbook.
All right, welcome back, Lachlan. It's a big week for theaters, for moviegoers worldwide. It's Barbenheimer time. We'll get into that a bit later on in today's show. If you want to skip around to that, you can find it. You can find the time codes link below. But first up, we're talking about some of the news. We got a couple trailers that dropped. We didn't do a trailer reaction or had a closer look at them, but we got one for The Marvels, A Haunting in Venice, and The Creator. None of them really stood out, and I feel like without talking about the promotion here specifically, let's talk about some movies that actually got pushed so far already due to the ongoing writers and actors strike, or that kind of puts the blame onto them because it's that's striking, they're striking, that's why they get pushed. It's because the producers are greedy assholes. If we want to get down to brass facts, that's not a saying. Brass.
I don't know what you're trying to say, bro.
I don't know. He doesn't know what I'm trying to say. But anyways, some movies are getting pushed. One of them is the new film from Luca Guadagnino that was supposed to open the Venice Film Festival in about 2 months. No, actually in a month from now. And it has been moved to spring of 2024. That's pretty much the only movie that has been moved. But it's a big one because it was supposed to be the opening film of the festival and had a release date set for, I think, mid-September. We are likely to see other films follow suit. I think Dune 2 is one that's definitely not safe. It could be pushed quite a bit into 2024, and then maybe even because it is a more of a holiday release, it could get pushed to the end of 2024 as well. That's what I fear. But yeah. Any thoughts on this, Lachlan? Do you think there's gonna be more incoming, or
more
will there
incoming?
Be a resolution?
The strikes are gonna make these delays happen, but whatever. If we need to move movies to make these strikes over and done with and get a resolution finally presented to the people who are striking that is a good resolution, then yeah, by all means, delay movies.
Yeah, I think I'm in a bit of a pickle here because I think you need a bit more of a strike that goes all around, so the profits are cut for these studios as well, and then you can feel like there's a bit more of an urgency to do something. But I don't know if delaying movies just because they feel like they can't promote it with the actors as much to make a bigger profit is the way to go, other than releasing the films, and because there's less promotion with the actors, that they're making less on the films. I don't know what would be worse for the studios for them to get to the table and agree. And I think it's not going to be either of it, just because they're going to wait as long as they can, at least the big 5 studios. There were already talks with something studios like A24 who approached the writers and actors to make a deal. And that's what usually ends up breaking the holdout from the biggest studios, because ultimately they are in a guild for the studios, but they are competitive with each other. So once one of them gets a leg up on the other, then you're gonna see them break as a line. So hopefully that will happen sooner than later. But some estimates are saying it is likely to go into September. So go over the Toronto Film Festival and also Venice. But yeah, I hope this gets resolved sooner than later. But I feel like we're in for a couple more months of strikes. But yeah, there was also like some discourse online if like journalism and people who mainly I think it is in the social media sphere and influencers. I think there the line gets a bit more blurred if they should be striking alongside them. I think for journalism it's a bit different, like the stuff that we do. I feel like it doesn't go against like the strikes. That's just my opinion. But yeah, there's been some influencers who like went to red carpets and they're obviously like then scabbing in a sense, because potentially influencers are someone who would be more interested in becoming a member, and if you scab, then obviously you're not going to be part of the union. But yeah, not. I saw some interesting discourse surrounding that, but yeah, that's that. Venice Film Festival lineup is getting announced in a couple of days, so we'll see there what the consequences of the strike are for that festival so far. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the news. Not much to discuss other than our topic this week in discussion time, because off the back of the huge box office opening so far of Barbie, Mattel has already announced that there's about 45 different properties that they could be making into movies. All of their product lines, they got a ton of them, and I think 13 of them so far have been like publicly announced. And our discussion time this week is what do we make of these companies who got products centering movies around their IP in this way? Do we generally think it's a good trend, it's a bad trend, or is it something in the middle? Like, Lachlan, what do you make of this?
It's probably going to be something in the middle. I mean, not all of these films are going to be great. You're not going to get a Greta Gerwig on every single one of these films.
Yeah.
So it really just depends who is at the helm writing them and also then directing them, starring in them. I'm probably most excited for the Barney with Daniel Kaluuya. That really sounds interesting to me, at least. Master of the Universe, probably that as well. But I mean, yeah, Hot Wheels. Yeah, I've been watching
by J.J. Abrams.
Man, I've been seeing the Gran Turismo trailers every time I go to the cinema.
Yeah.
And I'm not so sure about that one. I'm
no,
not on board with some of these video game adaptations that just seem a bit, oh, here's the IP of the name, here's a weird film about it, and Hot Wheels is probably going to be one of those. I would love to see a Speed Racer reboot, by the way. Sign me up to one of those.
I think
that's a possibility.
I think there was like talks about like, I think that was like something that I saw like rumors that it was in the works somewhere. But I mean, they got some weird stuff as well, like Magic 8 Ball, and apparently they've been trying to make that for decades. Like a Magic 8 Ball horror film.
What? Why?
I don't know why either. Like, something that makes more sense to me is like Thomas the Tank Engine, and you maybe I mean with Barney that is more I guess that was a children's show. I never watched it, but more of like an A24 type of, I guess, targeting an adult audience is interesting for this. With Thomas the Tank Engine, I feel like there's the memes, and I don't know much beyond that. I've rarely ever watched it. I mean, there's a solid animated film that they could maybe make with this one, but like something that stands out to me as well is like something like Uno, that apparently has the rapper Lil Yachty attached to potentially star in the film. The project is expected to take place in the notorious hip-hop scene in Atlanta, which is likely to attract other rappers and entertainers to the Uno project. It's an action heist comedy movie.
So it's like the card counter, but with Uno.
Yes. Yeah, it's just like a action heist, and they're like in a casino, but everyone, instead of playing poker, is just playing Uno. Yeah, there's also like the Rock'em Sock'em robots that they appeared like briefly in the first Toy Story film, and I think like Universal Pictures was attached with Vin Diesel set to like star and produce in it. So like I never heard about these projects, and now they just like pop up, and apparently they've been in production or like close to it. And I mean, if you look at Mattel's other brands, they got a whole bunch of them, like none of them as big as Barbie. So I feel like they're not gonna make as big a splash as Barbie, obviously. But I mean, they also got Bob the Builder. That's another like children film that they could make. I think this is like more a one and done than like something that will continue to be successful. But you'll see something like Air be successful as like a singular big brand that kind of works. I didn't love the film, but it clearly worked for a lot of people. And I think it's not gonna like usher in a new era when we move from superhero to video game films to IP product based movies. But there's certainly going to be more of them. That's just my prediction. And if any of them are even going to be as close to Barbie, like in quality, then I'm not complaining. But I think more often than not, they're probably going to suck.
Prove me wrong.
Prove us wrong. Because I'm waiting for the Uno movie. Do you know that there's like a sequel to Uno, the game?
Yeah. There's like a second.
Dos.
There's like another one. Yeah.
Yeah.
It literally is.
Which you. Yeah. So, I mean, they already got sequel material for it where they can do a double heist or something like that. But yeah, that's it for discussion time. Let us know what you think of this recent development of the increase of these, like, I guess, product movies. And let's get to what we've been watching. So, yeah, Lachlan, what have you been up to? What have you been watching?
Because we did a Nolan bracket, my entire week has been full of Nolan movies. I have watched all 11 of the big Nolan films. Oppenheimer, obviously, this week, plus everything else the man's done. So I have been busy there, but I finally got around to starting to play Jedi Survivor on my PC.
Ooh.
It runs like trash, but I'm enjoying it. I love Star Wars so much. I also, after watching the Batman movies, loaded up the Arkham game, Arkham Knight.
Which one?
Arkham Knight, and just started walking around as Batman. But that's over now because I finished watching the Batman movies, so here I am. But yeah, that's all I've been doing.
Here you are.
You can hear all of our thoughts about the Nolan movies on the bracket. There's just too
it's
many
an
movies.
extensive one. You know, the Wes Anderson bracket that we did like not too long ago was kind of short. This one's gonna be way longer because we were arguing a bit more. But yeah, a couple of weeks ago I actually watched the second season of Good Omens because I got the screeners early for it. But now that the embargo is finally up, I can briefly talk about it. And I caught up with the first season of it. I know that you quite liked the series because you were also a big fan of Neil Gaiman, right?
Yep, and I've read the book.
And the first season is based on that book, right? And then on the second season, they are going like off, and you can certainly feel it. It does feel like also a smaller budget that they're working with. There's more constraints. It's not as crazy, and it's more character focused. I still like it because the performances are just so fun and the characters are so fun. But beyond that, you're not getting like as much. But I'd certainly still give it like a recommendation, maybe like a lukewarm recommendation, not a warm or hot recommendation. Which, speaking of hot, I watched Heat for the first time ever. I've kind of been avoiding this film for a while because it's been on Netflix for like ages here, and I just never booted it up because it's like a 3-hour-long movie, and it's such a great experience. Lachlan, what is your take? What's your hot take on Heat? Do you have one?
What do you mean what my hot take is? It's in my top 4.
I don't know. I in the theme of like, you know, Heat. I don't know. I got this thing in my brain.
I don't have
where
any
I
hot
need to make
takes.
these, like,
it's like one of my
stupid
favorite
puns.
action movies. It's literally in my top 4 of Letterboxd.
Fair, yeah. I forgot that it's in your top 4, but I really liked it as well. I think it's it's a masterpiece when it comes to I guess action, heist, crime, filmmaking. It is so thrilling. Got one of the best shootout sequences of all time, and I think like Nolan references a bunch of times as well with like the way that he does like shootouts. That Heat is definitely an inspiration there as well. Then I watched the Beanie Bubble. You probably very likely did not have heard of that. It's a new film over on Apple TV Plus, and the only reason I actually end up watching it is because it kind of ties into the product-based films, and this is one of the more horrible examples of it. We got Zach Galifianakis in here. We also have Elizabeth Banks, who I have not been a fan of in like years. I really dislike everything she's kind of making recently. Sarah Snook is in it, and then Geraldine Viswanathan, probably butchered her name, but I've seen her in a few things. And it's essentially like the story of these like I thought it was like the Beanie Bubble. I thought it was like about beanie hats, these hats that you wear. But it's about these like little thingies, like these little toys. And I've probably had one of them as well, but I don't remember. And so it's about that. It's like about the 3 women who actually made it, and then the man at the top. And it's like a very much like it's got an agenda of what it's trying to tell you, but it does that in such a bad like projecting way that it just kind of falls flat on its face. Really stay clear of that. Not that anyone had that on their radar. And yeah, I'm not a big fan of basketball, but there was an A24 produced documentary on Stephen Curry called Underrated, and it's an interesting movie that should have been a mini series because it essentially takes a really long time to depict like his college days before he had like the 2020 run where his team, the Golden State Warriors, ended up winning the season, and he was like injured for like half of it until the playoffs. And it just kind of teases that at the beginning stages, and then just does a quick montage through the whole thing at the end, where that part would have been the most interesting thing. And it just feels like it has cut short in a lot of ways. But ultimately, I think it's an interesting story that they could have told. They just didn't tell it for some reason. And then lastly, I watched, only for Ryan Gosling's abs, I watched Crazy Stupid Love, just because it felt like, appropriate in the week of Barbie to watch Ryan Gosling and something else. I think I watched it because I saw like a clip on TikTok. I was like, that's a movie that exists. Let's cue that up. And I did watch it. But then I think in theaters this week is, at least in the States, in limited release, Cobweb from Kim Jae-won, a film that Lachlan and I both caught in Gun and we quite enjoyed. And yeah, if you can, go give it a try. I think it's interesting. It stars Song Kang-ho and is set in the 70s in South Korea, and is like about filmmaking. And it's like got some horror elements, but it's essentially just a love letter to film in a really chaotic way, and I really liked it. So yeah. All right, Lachlan, it is time. The time has come to talk about the biggest cinematic event in since Endgame, I'd say, probably, right? It's got to be.
Fair.
Barbenheimer, and we'll kick off our Barbenheimer week with a spoiler review for Barbie. Later on, we'll be doing Oppenheimer. Again, check the time codes if you want to skip around. But Lachlan, do you want to read the logline for Barbie?
Barbie suffers a crisis that leads her to question her world and her existence. That's it.
Oof. I love a simple logline. It's a bit of a harder one to make for a comedy film, but it does have a core at the center of it all. But yeah, the film comes from Greta Gerwig, who most people will probably know for her Oscar-nominated work on Lady Bird and Little Women. She's also an actress that has popped up in a lot of the films of her partner Noah Baumbach, who's a co-writer on the film as well. The film is 114 minutes long and is currently sitting at a 4.3 on Letterboxd. Damn, that's high. A 7.7 on IMDb and an 80 on Metacritic. It has a budget of $145 million and has so far had the biggest single box office opening day of 2023, making about like 70 or 77 million in the US on the first day, on the Friday. That beats out like the second highest opening, which was, I think, the Super Mario Brothers movie by like 20 million. So I think I also saw the pre-orders were as big as the latest Avatar film. So this movie made a big splash. And if you haven't seen it, go see it. We're going to be talking spoilers. But what did you make of it?
Holy shit, this movie was so good. I did not expect it to be that good. I don't know where in its production that someone decided to go, let's make this a good movie. Let's not make this a shit film. And let's go really hard with the marketing. And it shows because people are excited to watch this movie. People were dressing up to see it. People are going to the cinemas in pink. They're making it an experience. We talk about how, well, we don't talk about it. Let me rephrase this. Tom Cruise talks about how he thinks he saved cinema with Top Gun Maverick. and Mission Impossible. But I think Barbie has saved cinema post-COVID for sure. It's making it an experience to go back to watch movies in a cinema.
And it's making it more than an experience of like a collective experience that you don't hate. It's not like you're there and people are annoying, and there might be some moments where people like clap, which is something that I really don't like. Maybe it's just an American thing. But it's got some moments that are like cheer worthy for a couple of reasons. But it just makes it a blast to be there and to laugh and to be emotionally engaged and to be a part of something. And it's just been sweeping all across the internet. And I think it's also gone beyond the internet. Like it has pierced not just through like, you know, the online meme space where something like such a weird comparison to make, but the movie in the bottom corner in Lachlan's frame, Morbius, did have like an online resurgence, but it didn't apply to anyone actually having any interest. But Barbie really expands like way beyond that and actually makes it like something people are showing up for. And I thought it was going to be a hit. I just didn't think that it was going to be such a huge hit. And I mean, I'm all for it because it is a blast. I agree. Let's talk about some of the performances, I guess.
Yep.
Some standouts. Were there any letdowns for you? Some people that you didn't enjoy, or was it just all around?
I don't think there was
time?
letdowns. I just feel like some people didn't get as much screen time as you can give them to obviously make them notable. But this is a movie about Barbie. But man, Gosling had a fucking phenomenal time with this role. I thought that he could be the standout.
He could be. I think that's also like from the writing. It's not just like that you go in and like you're watching this like feminist women, you know, focused movie. And then the man ends up being like the standout performance. I think it's like giving him way more opportunities to shine in a way where like Barbie's experience, like Barbie, the 16 different Barbies, like Margot Robbie's experience is way more internal and like is more of like a coming, not a coming of age, but coming of understanding the world, the actual world. And that performance doesn't really give as much opportunities to shine comedically and like in all sorts of facets. Like Ken goes through so much, and Ryan Gosling is just completely there to sell it, and I believe him at every step of the way. And it's like so over the top and silly. And to get someone like Ryan Gosling to make that work is really stunning to see. I was kind of surprised. Like we both are huge fans of him, but he certainly has a lot of range, and we can see that shine in this one, and he rocks all of those outfits as well. Like for me, one of that's more of like a writing and the way that they used the characters, but like someone like Dua Lipa as like a mermaid was, I don't know, it's just like something that didn't really work for me, where it felt just comped in. It's like, okay, here's a Dua Lipa moment where she comes up and then briefly exits, but I mean that's not something that is gonna be bad for the movie overall. It's just something that I didn't really love. And Lachlan just added a huge pixelated picture for me of Ryan Gosling into our show notes. What is this about? I have it on forced dark mode.
Moved it from his picture.
Oh, you just extended his IMDb picture. I see.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah. Let's not. He has had more than enough time to shine in this. Let's not let him take over all of this. Now he's doing the same thing for Margot Robbie. I see. This is equality. It starts in the show notes of a podcast hosted by two white guys. Anyways, okay. So story-wise, were some of your favorite moments? Some of the moments you maybe liked a bit less? Some of the critiques you had for the film?
Story. Well, there's different mini stories where it goes. Sort of the Barbie trying to discover what's wrong with her creator, the Ken storyline, what happens with Mattel. I feel like the board is kind of forgotten about halfway through, so that might be the only thing. I was hoping that you'd get a little bit more of Will Ferrell as the like CEO, because I found him quite funny. in that role, about how he like cares about the dreams of like little girls in the least creepiest way possible. That's what I think his words. That's what he says.
Yeah.
But I feel like for me, like the best arc was how Ken brings back the patriarchy to Barbie Land and how they all react, and then them going from Ken Land or the patriarchy world back to Barbie Land. I felt that was like the strongest part of the film for me, was when they do that, like the infiltration, because you also get the best dance number in that as well. But for me, that was like my favorite part of the film, was just the whole, they've all go back to Barbie Land. It's in complete disarray, and then it's building it back up, and it's just that part there before it goes into the whole what it means to be a Barbie situation with Ruth and Barbie. But like that part there is like my favorite part of the film.
Yeah, I like that we don't spend as much time in the real world, just because Barbie world is so like fun to be in. And the real world is less, and I think that's also like one of the points that it's trying to make, as like these worlds kind of collide in the Flash style, as we get just worlds colliding. No, I hate that movie. But yeah, but I think that the Will Ferrell board storyline is one that I would have liked to either see like way more of, or just like completely not at all. Because the way that it's in the movie, I think it doesn't really work for me. As like they're chasing after them, and then they like take, I think, 2 full days to convert all of the Barbies, and then like they would have entered by a while now. They would have been in there, unless it takes like 2 days to get to Barbie World. Even then, it doesn't really make sense. That's just something like incoherent in the story that was really distracting to me. Which, like, ultimately you can just say, it's just not important. That's just not the way the story goes. But it feels like that was a different draft, where the Mattel chase to get back to Barbie Land was a bigger thing than it ended up being. And I like that they focus way more on the Ken stuff. Like you said, that's ultimately what's so interesting about it. And like some of the discourse that I've seen online that is like against this film, which obviously you get because there's women in it, and so men are gonna hate it. I'm gonna reduce it down to something lesser than it actually is. But it's like, it's not a movie that tells you men are bad. It's a movie about like why coexistence is difficult, but you can make it work by both understanding each other. Like that final moment that like Ken has as a realization of who he is, I think is such a emotionally strong moment that you don't expect from a movie like this. And it just nails it. Like he goes from this like douchebag he's unaware. That's why he's kind of redeemable. But he's this douchebag who's like an asshole to everyone, back to like someone who's like, he's just didn't know who he was. That's like what one of the Ken says. Like, we were just fighting because we didn't know who we were.
Yeah.
It's like,
where did that storyline come from?
I don't know, the self-discovery thing, you mean?
Yeah, it's just like, okay, wow, this movie's way more deep than just a film about Barbie, right? It becomes a film about identity. And that's both Ken, that's both Barbie, because she's stereotypical Barbie, but then she's feeling a bit different from all the other Barbies, and Barbie can be whoever she wants, but she's like, I don't feel like I'm who I am. I'm stereotypical Barbie. I'm Barbie, but you guys are Barbie too, but you have unique features. Ken is the same thing. Like all the other Kens have these unique features. It's stereotypical Ken and stereotypical Barbie who want to break the mold of Ken and Barbie. So the film just became really interesting, and I just didn't expect it to go there.
I think what makes it so interesting is because the stereotype is like in itself the one that's hard to have its own identity, because what is stereotypical if it doesn't reflect what is like, it's the stereotype of Barbie. It's not the stereotype of women. And if like that's in the towards the big speech from America Ferrera, where she like goes off Queen. It's like the clapworthy moment for some of the audiences there, where she goes like, if all of these things are even experienced by a doll that's representing a real woman who's not a real woman herself, like what is the actual experience like? Like that's another moment that works way better than it should. I think like all of the spouting on my first watch felt way more like the movie is telling at you instead of telling a story for you. But I enjoyed it a bit more on the second watch, just because I feel like overall the film comes together, like it just comes together well. Like there's not like a lot of things to poke at and to criticize, just because I wouldn't say it's like a super deep story, but it's also not like a super like radical story at all. It's not radical at all. It's just like it's pretty simple, and that's what I really enjoyed about it as well. I want to talk about the soundtrack. Like this extends, I think this is also part of the marketing, because you can see really a lot of big names attached to this Barbie album. Some of the like the best tracks of that album aren't even in the movie like at all, not even credits or anything. They're just part of the album. But the ones that are in the movie are quite well done as well. There's a couple of moments where I feel like there's a few too many good songs that they need to utilize in a way where maybe like this is like a slight like critique. Maybe there's just like a bit too much of it used. But overall, like all of the songs, like there's a lot of songs that are just like bangers. There's one song that I've listened to the last 4 days, and it's already been like in my top 3 of most listened to songs of the last 4 weeks. And it's like Barbie Dreams. I don't know if you listen to that, Lachlan, but it's such a banger. There's so many like good songs in it as well. And it just kind of adds to the cultural moment that we are having with this Barbie movie, that it just kind of extends film, that it goes into music and all sorts of things. Even the outfits, like you said, people dressing up for it. Luckily, you talked about recently not really loving comedy. What was it about this film? If you could kind of sum it up in words, like why did the comedy in this film work for you?
Because I wasn't expecting it. The best thing for you to do to your audience is have them have an expectation of the film and then break that expectation, destroy that expectation, make it so much more than what they were expecting, and hit them with jokes they don't see coming. There was all kinds of humor. There wasn't just there's definitely another film in here by another comedian who was on this film before Margot Robbie that I could see jokes just not being the same. But there's jokes about there's wordplay jokes that's in the trailer with beach me off and I'll beat you off and we'll beach everybody off. There's the overall humor of Ken misunderstanding what the patriarchy is and what it means to be a man in the real world. There's the pure contrast between Barbie land in the real world and Barbie and Ken discovering that it's completely different. Like the situation where they go up to the construction workers and they're just catcalling her, and Barbie's like, man, I thought I would be expecting like a whole bunch of hard workers wanting to chat on their break. And it's like, it's really well crafted
sort of double
joke
entendre. That's some kind of doubling in here.
And then there's like some fourth wall breaks, which I quite like.
Oh, dude, the funniest moment in the film is like when Barbie says she doesn't feel pretty, like stereotypical Barbie anymore, and it goes like, no, to the filmmaker, Margot Robbie is the wrong person to cast to make this point. I was like, that's like, that doesn't work in most films. It works perfectly in this.
It's
to me, it was the funniest moment.
Being able to make fun of yourself, being able to make fun of the film itself is good humor. And we spoke about this at Cannes, how fourth wall breaks can be overused, but it didn't feel like it was overused here. That was probably like the big like the big in your face one. But I didn't mind the
narration as well.
The narration didn't suck. I know that you weren't the biggest fan of the Zack Snyder joke, but I definitely
because I'm such a big Snyder fan.
I audibly laughed in the theater, and no one else found it funny,
I mean, I did.
So.
I did too, but it's just like one of the more low-hanging fruit stuff that I thought was like, I find it funny, but like ultimately overall in the film, like how funny is it? But it's just in comparison, maybe. Another thing that I really loved was the patriarchy thing, right? The Ken hiring moments, which like they were just too good. They were just too good of like him just going as like, it's the patriarchy. I just take a job now. And like one of the guys goes like, oh yeah, we still do it. We just do it.
We just hide it really well. Like, yes, that was really good. Because like the film could the film is coming across as fairly like equal, which there'll be
Yeah.
people who want to shit on this film because they think it's going to be all about like, you know, women power and women are great. And it's like a very feminist, strong film. But this film never really exerts that energy at all. It quite honestly sometimes makes fun of the feminist movement, and it's not just a fully, you know, women can do anything sort of storyline. It's literally a film about identity, and that's the most exciting film part of this film is the fact that that's the story.
It's kind of holding up a mirror to the to our world and kind of projecting a gender swapped way of it. And by that, in in context of that, like that's how kind of the movie ends, of like the Kens asking, you know, can we have a seat in the parliament? And it's just like, no. And then it goes the narration, they can make their way up, and maybe the Kens can have as much power as the women in the real world. And it's like, that's like, it's clever, and it's not as in your face, and it's true as well. So it's not like it's preaching, and it's like, I don't know, doing too much of alienating anyone. Anyone who's alienated by this film probably has issues themselves with like how the world actually functions and what it is, if they have issues for it. And like you said, it's not just like women great, men are bad. It's an identity film, like you said. And it nails that. It kind of reflects our world in a really interesting and funny way. It's never taking itself too seriously. It's just a grand old time all around. I just wanted to note that there's also like a bunch of people from Sex Education that they cast in here. There's 3 characters in here. There's Emma Mackey as Barbie, Kuti Kwata, who's one of the Kens, and then Connor Swindles, who's the lower guy at Mattel, who discovers like that Barbie and Ken have entered the real world. And I think it's just kind of fun that like they also paired up Emma Mackey and Kwata as like the pairing for the Ken and Barbie. There's kind of a fun nod that they have worked before together. There's a couple of things that like I didn't love, but it's essentially nitpicking. Like one of the moments at the school where they like talk about something that they don't really understand the concept, and like someone just enters and gives us the relatable concept of it, like anxiety. That happens like only a few times in the film, and it's only the anxiety one that like stood out to me as something that's just being like painfully like, oh yeah, I can relate to that. And when the movie tries to be that, oh, I can relate to that, like so much in your face, I don't love it. I feel like when it surprises me, much like in comedy with it, I like it a bit more. Other than that, I think there's also a ton of like movie references in it that are quite well done. I don't love the 2001 opening because it's a bit random, and it's supposed to be really funny, but having already seen it in the promotional material, it doesn't really, like, it would be really funny if you don't know that's gonna happen at all in the film, and then it just like kind of opens that way. But the Matrix one was really funny, that like she doesn't really want to do anything. She just wasn't. No, I just want to be back here. So that's pretty much it. It ends with Barbie going to the gynecologist. That's a hard word to say for someone who's not an English speaker. Do you think there's gonna be?
Can you say it one more time,
like,
just so we can?
Gynecologist.
Okay, you got it that time. Fuck, goddamn it.
I'm just playing. I pretend to be like the dumb guy so people can correct me in the comments. Projecting. Anyway, so you think there's going to be a sequel to this because Barbie becomes a human by the end of it? She does have a functioning
not.
question mark vagina by the end of it.
I hope not.
Which is great for her. Yeah, I think so as well. I hope this is the end of it. Although it is a bit of a random moment to end it on. Of like, I guess she does have sexual organs now, reproductive organs. I think it's like a hint to like, oh, she's so excited about it, and because she doesn't really know about like, you know, what kind of trouble and hurt and stuff comes from it as well. So it's kind of a funny nod to the audience at the end there as well. But considering that a bunch of films are likely to not premiere maybe this year anymore because of the ongoing strikes, there's maybe even a higher chance for this to rack up some awards attention do you think, as much as I am, that production design and costume design are a lock as a win for this?
Yeah, there's a very good chance that it's going to be winning that.
Exactly. And I think it should be recognized because it is such great work. And I would be surprised if anything else is as great as the production design and costume design in Barbie. I could also see like a screenplay, best picture nominations for Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie's performance in this, and maybe even a best song for I'm Just Ken. You teased that you quite liked the dance number there that just comes really unexpectedly.
Yeah, I'm not playing it out loud, but in my headphones right now, I am listening to "I'm Just Ken" and the actual soundtrack because it is a bop. So there is a bop. Little nomination there. I hopefully will get to see "I'm Just Ken" perform live at the Oscars.
Oh, that would be so much fun.
Please, if not,
oh please.
Because I want to get to ratings so we can get to Oppenheimer because this is going to be a long recording because Oppenheimer is 3 hours.
No.
This film is 2 hours and we've already taken enough time to talk about Barbie.
Yeah.
I'm giving Barbie 4.5 stars, but the reason I'm giving it 4.5 stars because I was at 4 is because they obviously talk about the patriarchy and what they think being a man is, right? Mm-hmm. And they played one of my favorite songs, which is Push by Matchbox 20. And there is a great cover of it. And I was like, that is getting an extra half star. So 4.5 stars for Barbie for me.
We just did a non-spoiler review for the film, and I gave it a 4 out of 5. After talking about some more, I'm right there with you. I'm giving it a 4.5.
Yeah, of course you want to copy me.
No, look, I rewatched it last night, and I was like, I read like some article about it, and I was like, no, I really like this film. And I opened Letterboxd, I went into my review that I just posted like an hour before I went to bed. I was like hovering over the button to rank it up. It's like, no, I'm sticking with it. I'm leaving it, although I do feel like it's a 4.5 movie. And now I'm just changing it because I can. Because I'm Knuff. And I can do that. Go see Barbie if you haven't already. We've spoiled the whole thing now. Ellen is also kind of funny. Like Michael Cera, pretty funny use of that character as well. But that's that. Enough Barbie talk. Let's get to the devastating story of J. Robert Oppenheimer in Christopher Nolan's 12th film. So, Lachlan, can you read us the logline for the film?
Sorry, I was listening to the bar.
Can you? I'm just Ken.
Alright, what do you need me to do? The story of American scientist J. Robert Oppenheimer and his role in the development of the atomic bomb.
Daddy
Oppenheimer. Daddy Opie.
Opie Daddy is an Opie. The explosive Daddy lasts 3 hours and has been received slightly better than Barbie, which is to be expected because it is a Christopher Nolan film, and everyone on IMDb seems to be loving him for the last decade because I think he is like the director with the most amount of films in the IMDb top 50. But even on Letterboxd, this movie is currently sitting at a 4.4, which puts it, I think, somewhere at least in the top 50, I think. So much beloved early reception of the film. Even on Metacritic, it beats out Barbie by 8 points with an 89. It cost a bit less, $100 million, compared to maybe Nolan's last film, which was Tenet, that cost $205 million. Definitely better money spent on this film. It has grossed on the first day of its opening, because we are recording this before we get the weekend numbers, 33 million. So not too bad, not too shabby, going up against Barbie. And yeah, I think it's currently sitting on Letterboxd as the second highest rated in his filmography. I think that's gonna come down, or do you think it's gonna stay up there, Lachlan?
I reckon it'll stay up there. It's only going to get higher.
As number 2?
No.
Because currently the highest rated is... Oh, okay. I was about to say, like, huh? What movie are you watching? Because currently I think The Dark Knight is his highest rated one.
Yeah, people are going to love that film for the rest of the time. I reckon it will go down once more people see it.
Yeah, because currently it goes Dark Knight, then Oppenheimer, then Interstellar, The Prestige, Inception, Memento, Dark Knight Begins, Batman Begins. So that's that. I think it's coming down a bit as well. But it is a really solid film that we really liked. And I know there's been the matchup. This episode is titled Barbenheimer. But, now that we reviewed Barbie extensively, do you think there's a clear winner out of the two? Or is it just like a big win for cinemas all around?
I think it's a great little win for cinemas all around. I'm going to sit in the corner of this thing right here.
We've been going for a long time. Lachlan's tired.
I think it's a win for both, because I saw both movies this week. Unfortunately, I don't have the privilege of seeing it early, like Ewan, a few days early.
Yeah, I saw it
else.
Monday, Tuesday.
So I had to decide which one I get to see first. And I saw Barbie first. So that's the order I went in. Barbie, Oppenheimer. But do I think that the order matters? No, because I watched it 2 days after, and that's when I caught Oppenheimer. So I had enough time to relax and calm down about Barbie. Oppenheimer is the busier cinema when I went, funnily enough. Now, maybe it's because I went at a different time, but Oppenheimer definitely was a more packed cinema for me. And I think that there's a different crowd going. But when I went and saw Oppenheimer as well, there was a lot of people in pink, and they weren't in my screening. So I was assuming that there was a massive screening for Barbie as well. So for me, I don't think there's a clear winner, because if you've already watched the non-spoiler review that we have posted separately, I like these films equally, but for completely different reasons.
Yeah.
Ewan?
I came out of the film when I watched this film in a really nice IMAX screening with a previous co-host who's now retired from the podcast, Kelly Kunab. Got her to experience it with me in IMAX. And as soon as the movie was over, because I was like tearing up, I was so emotional. I was like, this is cinema. I leaned over to her and she hadn't seen Barbie yet. She was like, don't spoil me. And I told her, I don't think it's a competition. Oppenheimer is the better movie. I've since rewatched Barbie, and like you said, they're great for totally different things and reasons. I do give the edge to Oppenheimer, though. I like it more than Barbie. So for me, there is a winner only by a slight margin, but it is Oppenheimer to me. But ultimately, it is a success just for
it is a draw.
Cinema goers. It is sure. We can agree. It's a draw. Go see both films. If it's like people are waiting, which movie wins the Barbenheimer thing, and then I'll go see that movie. No, just go see both. They're both great. But yeah, something that we rarely talk about is like the format of films. We have a bit of experience shooting short films, at least ourselves, but we kind of stopped doing that once we stopped studying film production, and we are more now just like, I guess, commentating on films, but we are both like really interested in cinematography, and I think something that Nolan really emphasizes is the role of film and the legacy and like the IMAX thing and physical media and all of that. That's like he's a perfect person to represent like that kind of love for it. And I think it's like one of the first films, if not the first film that's completely shot on 70mm IMAX. I mean, maybe you've seen the huge role that this is projected on in only a selected amount of, I think, 30 theaters in the States only. So it's interesting to see these different prints, and the experience might be slightly different. I saw it in IMAX. You haven't seen it in IMAX, but it's just certainly an event. And something that has stood out in the last few works from Nolan is his sound design. That's just been really loud. We talked about this in our non-spoiler review as well. I think here it's a bit better. Lachlan, did you have any issue of understanding some of the dialogue in this, or was it all clear?
Occasionally, but for the majority of it, I think it was completely fine. There was a few sequences that caught me off guard for how loud it was. I wasn't expecting it, and I'm talking explosions because you expect that, but there was moments where I was like, oh, that's a bit loud. But I think he realized that too much music, too much sound design with Tenet is too much.
I wouldn't say too much music. I think this movie does have, like, it relies so much on the score from Ludwig Göransson.
I'm talking about Tenet.
I know that, like, there's too much. I think here there's also a bit too much of a score. Like,
really, I don't think there is.
To me, like early, okay, so I think we talked about this in non-spoiler as well. Early on, it does take a while to get used to the like the storytelling style of going to color to black and white in the future, like back and forth. And to me, like what stood out was a really like not a bad score in any sort of the like in any way. It's just like a very present score. And I think he always does that, but at the start, it kind of relied on it to get me into the story a bit much. Like it was leading me, almost pulling me at times. And to me, it was a bit much. I ended up liking it a bit more in the latter half, maybe just because I got used to it, or it just worked better for me. But I mean, it's a great score. It's just a lot of it in this as well.
Fair.
But you didn't mind it. You liked the score from beginning to end.
I thought it was really, really gorgeous. There's certain elements of it at times that make you feel uneasy and make you feel worried, stressed, whether that's the strings or like the low hum of a bass line in the score. Those definitely play a massive part in making you feel uncomfortable in scenes where you shouldn't feel comfortable. So the score works really well hand in hand, but as you said, this film is specially shot for 70mm IMAX. Not everyone's going to experience that, unfortunately. I am hoping that the film is released on a platform that allows me to use IMAX enhanced on my telly, so I can get a bit more out of it. But other than that, whatever. It's visually and audibly stimulating. But who would have thought that a Christopher Nolan film would have done that?
Who would have thought?
I would have thought it. That's what I was expecting, and I got what I needed.
And nobody listened to him. Listen to him. He knows. He knows what Nolan's about to do. What did you make of the pacing and like the editing? Because it is a very technical movie. That's where Nolan shines. But this time around, it's also centered around a story that's more focused on protagonist, on Mr. Oppenheimer, Mr. Daddy Atom Bomb.
I think it's great. It's funny that it's taken this long for Cillian to get like a leading man
Set him in
role.
like
He's
six
been
or
a
seven
leading
of his
man in
films.
other things, but in one of Nolan's films to be front and center. And I think it's a good choice for this one because
he looks like him.
Actor. I mean, he looks like him.
Spitting image,
but he's absolutely
he's
phenomenal.
an incredible actor.
And you realize that this film is a biopic from Nolan. You go, okay, there's not going to be any sort of weird elements that I'm going to have to wrap my head around. You know, we're not inverted, we're not dreaming, we're not etc. etc. Bending time and space for love, etc. But what you need instead is a main character who you can attach to. And I don't think we've had a lot of compelling leading characters from Nolan, other than maybe a few here and there. But honestly, this is one of the best leading man performances in a Nolan film. And I want to say Oscar nomination worthy.
I think for leading so far, this is, and we've seen some films in Gunn that I really liked. I think this is the best like male lead performance of the year. It is incredibly well done. And yeah, he is incredible in it. Just the way he uses his eyes, man. And like especially in the IMAX, you know, the way that the frame works, you can center on the like verticality of a face a bit more, and the way he frames him is it's stunning. It is so incredibly well done. And I love how his character is someone we like later on with Strauss, who's trying to, I guess he's already like made his mind up of who this guy now is, who's like trying to slightly sabotage the advancement of these like earth destructing weapons. But we are still kind of trying to figure out like where the shift happens, where there's like ignorance, where there's like an understanding, where there's like an understanding but a like chosen ignorance, where there's like is like gullibleness, is that a word coming to the forefront. There's a lot to this character that is so intriguing, and on top of that you got like something that is world changing it's such an important story, and then it's told by someone who's so capable of doing it. And I was just there, like in my seat, just, whew, this is cinema. This is great cinema, and I absolutely adored it.
That doesn't go, unfortunately, for some of the side characters, specifically
No.
female side characters.
Women.
Nolan is terrible at writing women.
I'm surprised that Emily Blunt is second billed in this, because she's not in the movie that much.
There
to
is
be honest,
one scene where she gets to really kind of perform, and that's it.
Yeah, in the side room courtroom thing.
And that's
where she has
right
like
at
a
the
moment.
end.
And I think the moment isn't really like this. They set it up, but it's not like earned for their character, because we don't get enough of her. I think it's like I saw like a meme that said like, "Hey, we knew before that Oppenheimer built a bomb, but maybe he also fucked." That's like the gist of the story. This is like, also the sex scenes in this. I think that he wants to not leave that part out, to make him the scientist who only built a bomb, to make him more of like this flawed human being in a sense, with the way that like he cheats on his wife and stuff like that. And by that he gets to, oh my god, Nolan gets to be so different. Instead of having a dead wife, he has a dead mistress, which is so original. I love that. But like Florence Pugh as well gets to be topless and ride, go for a ride for a bit, and there's not much more to her character other than like symbolizing the
communism.
Like problematic connection to communism that he has, and there's not much more to that, unfortunately. So there's some shortcomings. The third woman in this film is the one that's also a scientist, and I think like he's like time appropriate, I think, how he treats her, but there's just not much that like she's given as well, where I think all of the rest of the scientists, apart from maybe Benny Safdie, who is doing an interesting voice there as the Russian scientist who was really set on building the hydrogen bomb, they're not giving too much. Like someone like Jack Quaid and Josh Peck, I think they both didn't really work for me. They kind of took me out. And there's like a huge cast of people that are pretty big names that are just like in it for the hell of it. So what did you make of like the casting of some of the characters? Like good, bad, somewhere in between?
Well, I don't think there's any bad characters. I'm not upset by anyone, really. You say that Josh Peck and Jack Quaid pulled you out, but they weren't in the film enough for me to kind of I thought for the whole 2.5 minutes that Gary Oldman was on screen, that was really fun, that scene.
That was a surprise, yeah.
But Kenneth what's his name?
Branagh?
Kenneth Branagh. Every time he does an accent, man, I'm just like, why? Why an accent?
Yeah. I also just watched Tenet, and he does a horrible Russian one in there as well.
Yeah.
Like, people have been talking about Russell Crowe and his, like, recent, undertaking to just go, like, Italian. He does a bit of Greek. He does a bit of everything. But Kenneth Branagh has been doing it for a bit longer. Like, he also does the French thing in what is it called? Like, his own movies, Death on the Nile and stuff like that. And he's not great at it. I don't know, at least in my opinion. So like that he keeps getting the opportunity to do that is,
and to
is
be
a bit,
fair, we have
dazzling to me.
3 British people who are doing American accents the entire time.
That is
2 British and 1
thing,
Irish person. I didn't mean to put Gillian in the same boat as the UK. He's Irish.
Sure.
Emily's British. Florence is British. But you've got them doing American accents the entire time, and they're doing a great job. But
well, I wouldn't agree. I think, I don't know, maybe I'm just I don't love Emily Blunt in most of her work. Maybe it's just like that I go in with a certain expectation to not love it. But I think she wasn't given much, and what she got to work with didn't work for me either. I think she was definitely like the weakest part of the movie for me. And Florence Pugh is fine for what she's given, but Emily Blunt didn't work for me. And then like the big other performance is Robert Downey Jr. Surprisingly, of like the back end of the movie is kind of more in like his hands, and the condemning like his character, and he's someone who pops up throughout the entire movie, and then it kind of sets up to for him to be like big, someone who's more of the like asshole, the ultimate antagonist in the story, where I think like the whole world becomes the antagonist of the world that we live in. That we like some like a threshold that we cross that should have never been crossed in a way. And it becomes more palpable on a person. And I don't love that take of where the story goes, where it is more about like Oppenheimer being redeemed as this person who created the bomb, but then it's like one of his biggest opposers, and further like not wanting the world to go further down like that arms race. And I think it's so caught up in the whole like court proceedings of it, where I kind of stopped caring about it for him, because I was more interested in how he's like, I don't know, dealing with what he's done and what he's been a part of, what he's been like. That's the more interesting part of the story, other than the court drama. How did you feel about like the direction and the focus the story ultimately ends up going down?
It was unexpected, and I think that's the part where it starts to feel a bit long, because the film kind of wraps. Similar to the Batman most recently, where it like, the film's wrapping. No, there's another part to this film. And that's where it feels
the
like
Batman's
it's
wrapping
the longest. So for Oppenheimer, the courtroom drama aspect, I guess you get little nibbles of it throughout the entire film, and then it finally evolves into, okay, we know the story of Oppenheimer, we know what he did, but now we're about to see the defamation of this man's character over the next 35 to 45 minutes of the remaining part of this film. And I guess that's the unfortunate part, to see the man that made the USA the most powerful army, or the powerful nation on Earth for a very small period of time. They destroyed this
I mean,
character.
up until pretty much now. I think it's coming to a shift right now with China. That's why like this feels like it's always been timely, and it's never been irrelevant, because the existence of these bombs has forever like altered our world, kind of ushered in a new time. It's like there's two times in the world, and that's like pre and post atomic bombs that can destroy the entire world. And I think that part, it does make a point for you to like understand that while you're watching it, kind of emphasizing on the point that like these going off could like destroy the atmosphere, and could just like, you know, lead to an ongoing chain of events that cannot be stopped, that have kind of begun with the that like that's the big thing, that like the whole thing I think opens pretty much, or pretty early on. There's like this thing between Strauss and Einstein and Oppenheimer, where like Einstein is pissed off at Strauss, and Strauss kind of never really knows why. And ultimately, he tells them the chain of events have been put into order. I think like he's afraid it has begun. And it's just like a really depressing outlook and on life. And like some of his other films, like Interstellar, have that like that dark side to it, of there was never a plan A. we were always doomed in a way. But then to make it as part of a really palpable and like close to home hitting story like this is something that like made me shift in my seat. It made me sick. It just makes this film a really visceral experience, on top of like really being visually and auditory stimulating as well. Anything else you want to chat about? Anything else you want to shout out for the film?
No. I mean,
no.
There's so much to talk about, but with Barbie, but there's very little to talk about with Oppenheimer, because it's a much simpler film, if I'm totally honest, than what Barbie is. Barbie has a lot of elements going for it, but Oppenheimer doesn't have that. Oppenheimer's quite simple, but that's the interesting part. Like, people think that Oppenheimer would be the more complex film to talk about. It's not. It's a solid piece of work.
I mean, Nolan ends up just taking a simple story and making it like interesting to tell. Like he makes revelations out of stuff that don't need to be revelations in maybe a more linear biopic story. But he ends up having these. I think like we didn't talk about this enough on bracket for Nolan, but he is incredibly capable of making a satisfying ending that sometimes I had to reflect on, is the movie actually this great, or did it just like end perfectly? And this movie also manages to do that like really well and in a really satisfying way. But yeah, ultimately, I think this is gonna be popping up in the awards quite a bit as well. Both of the films we talked about today, which is great that we like get two amazing films releasing on the same date. I think it's gonna be gonna try to replicate a sort of event like this in the future. It's not going to happen as organically again, or there's not going to be enough studio feud in the future, because I think that Nolan is ready to go back to Warner Brothers. I think they offered him a bunch of like $1 million, and he might be going back, which is, I mean, take the bag. He definitely earns it. But yeah, that's it. I'm giving the film a 4.5 out of 5. What about you, Lachlan?
4.5 out of 5.
Let's go, baby. 4.5 atom bombs out of 5. Love that. We haven't really talked about the sound moments. Want to give a quick shout out to that. I think when it like drops the music completely and like the sound of the explosions, and it's just like the breathing, his sort of like anxiety and like just dealing with his trauma is done quite well. Like it really had me in there. That could be like gimmicky and not work as well, but somehow that worked really well with the performance.
Shout out
everything.
to Matt Damon, because I feel like he should be given a shout out. The scene where Matt Damon and Killian both meet each other for the first time, that back and forth between them is really good. When they first like sit down and chat. But Matt Damon had some really good moments in this film, so shout out to him.
I could definitely see him get a supporting actor.
Yeah,
I think he earns it.
I
mean, I think that I guess it will probably end up going to Robert Downey Jr. over him, but I liked his performance more than Robert Downey Jr. Could be both. Could be a double nomination because we are getting less right this year, so could be. Anyways, what are you pairing up with these already two long movies? One 2 hours, the other one 3 hours. What are you picking, Lachlan?
Well, I wanted to combine Barbie and I wanted to combine Oppenheimer. So I wanted End of the World and I wanted badass, powerful women. So you know what I picked? Terminator 2, baby.
Terminator 2. Woo.
T2. How good of a pick is that?
It is.
Judgment Day.
It's great.
A cyborg identical to the one who failed to kill Sarah Connor must now protect her 10-year-old son John from an even more advanced and powerful cyborg. What a log line. What a movie.
I'm going with Lady Bird, and then additionally I do want to add like another film on here, but to find out what it is, you got to check out bracket for Nolan. So whoever ends up winning this bracket, which we already know because we already recorded it, is the additional
spoiler
double feature.
Alert,
so
Ewan hates it. I love it.
It's not. If you go to, there's also linked below the ranked list of Nolan for both me and Lachlan, if you're willing to share. Yeah, no, you shared it on the bracket, so that should be fine. But it's definitely not near the top for me. If that's any sort of indication of what it might be. So go give that video a try. And then the new releases of the week, we got two of them. On July 28th, we are getting Disney's Haunted Mansion. I decided not to go to the press screening for this one, so I haven't seen it yet. And I don't want to give Disney money right now because Bob Iger seems like such a dickhead. But I also missed the press screening for Talk to Me, but I did get so thanks to the distributor here tickets to go see it once it comes out here publicly. So I think we'll be talking about Talk to Me more extensively next week instead of Haunted Mansion. But that said, Lachlan, you've already seen it. We've already talked about it a bit, but I want to get into a full
this is
spoiler
a
discussion.
rare occasion where Lachlan has seen the movie before Ewan, so
Yes, and I live for it. I love to see it. It changes up the pace in here. But in the meantime, before we talk about Talk to Me, you can subscribe to the channel, leave a like as well, and go check out the other videos that we mentioned previously. Go check out the bracket. It was a lot of fun. There's also a surprise appearance from someone who some people might know of the show. But that's it for this week. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.
bye.
Bye.